Alright YouTube, so we are here finally with some gameplay for FF7 Remake. God damn, it feels good. Now I've already done a review of the entire demo based on the data mined stuff that was out there, the footage that was available on YouTube. So there's no point in me going through and doing another review, but I thought we'd look at and go over some of the things that you might have missed in the demo. So something you might not have been aware of is that you can actually use L1 and L2 to mess with the heads-up display. If you press L1, it'll actually bring up Cloud's stats. His health is MP. If you hit L2, it'll bring up the compass in the top middle of the screen. You hit L2 again, it'll bring up the minimap in the top right corner. You hit it again, it takes both of them away. One thing pretty interesting that I had missed on my first playthrough of the demo is the treasure chest right behind the stairs that actually has 2 grenades in it. One small detail that I liked is that after you get past the first boxes that you can break, if you look down to the platform where you started the bombing mission at, you can actually still see the body of the guard that Jesse and Biggs knocked out. One thing I took note of is if you talk to a character multiple times, that will say different things. In this example with Wedge, he says 3 different things, and then he just keeps saying the same thing over and over again. It's not always the case. Sometimes one character will just say one line of dialogue over and over. You can also opt out of conversations by hitting circle in the middle of them talking, so you don't have to sit there and listen to what they're saying.
We're really doing it. Man, you'll keep us safe, right, Cloud?
In the menu for Punish mode, they tell you at the bottom that if you evade magic or ranged attacks, you will revert back to operator mode, but actually if you test it yourself, it does it no matter what if you do the dodge roll. Another small detail that I took note of is that Cloud actually has an animation for when you bump into another character where he kind of steps aside a little bit to get around them. So something cool I noticed with Barrett's overdrive ability is, say the enemy is going to die in the first shot or two, you can actually click left or right on the joystick to target another enemy and finish out the ability. So obviously if you play the demo, you know that there are objects in the world that you can interact with, like boxes and barrels, and I noticed that if you actually knock an object into another area, at least in this instance, it actually disappears. So something that's different in the full demo versus the floor demo that's at these gaming events is Jessie's positioning is different. In the floor demo, she stays at the top of the platform right here by this first ladder. Whereas in the demo that we all have, she actually climbs down the ladder to a different location. And now she waits by this ladder right here, and if you happen to have played the demo at like E3, PAX East, anything like that, there used to be Shinra soldiers here. And also just noticed watching the gameplay that that corner right there where the Shinra soldiers getting killed, there's no boxes like there are in the full demo. Obviously, we all know that you can hold R1 or R2 to slide down ladders quickly, but you can actually do the exact same thing climbing up to climb a little bit faster. And going back to Jessie really quickly, if you actually try to walk the wrong way, she will verbally stop you, and if you keep trying to walk, it'll make you go really slow and eventually turn you around and make you walk the opposite direction. Something I found a bit strange is you actually can't use items from the pause menu like you could in pretty much every other Final Fantasy game. You actually are kind of forced to use the command menu for potions and possibly magic. I actually didn't try Barrett's cure magic from the pause menu. Something else you might not have been aware of is you can actually go into the game settings and pull the camera out a little bit for when you're in combat and for free roam. Also, if you go into the menu and go into battle settings, you can customize the shortcuts for each character. So for me personally, I like to give Barrett the Thunder Spell. But you can also shortcut limit breaks if you want to, which is pretty interesting. Speaking of the Thunder Spell, a useful tip for combat is you can actually queue up abilities and spells and items as long as you have the ATB gauges for it. So for example, the Thunder Spell costs 5 MP and 1 ATB gauge. So as long as you have 10 MP and 2 ATB gauges, you can actually go into the menu, activate Thunder Spell, go back into the menu really quickly, activate Thunder Spell again, and it'll do them both in a row.
Now's our chance. Give it everything you've got.
So obviously after defeating the Scorpion Sentinel, there's a timer and you need to escape the Maka reactor. A few things I noticed during this segment is Cloud actually reacts to the fire. It's pretty cool they gave him an animation for that. Also, the boxes that were here whenever you're working your way down to the Scorpion Sentinel respawn, so you can actually go over there and destroy them for Mako shards and possibly potions. So for whatever reason during the cutscenes of this segment, the timer stays on screen, but it doesn't actually keep counting down. I'm not really sure why, because there's plenty of time. I thought it's kind of strange because I'm pretty sure in the original game during the escape segment, like the counter's always going down, regardless of whether you're in battle, whether you bring up the menu to use items or look at your equipment or material. I'm pretty sure the timer's constantly counting down.
Look okay? Help a girl out, would you?
Once you and Jesse meet back up at the top with Barrett, you can actually climb back down to where Barrett came from. There's not really a point to doing this, but there are some respawning boxes, which again will give you some items. So something else you guys might not have noticed is Cloud's idle animations. I wouldn't be surprised because you have to sit around for a full 20 seconds before one activates, but I noticed at least 5. So first up we have Cloud placing both of his hands on his hips. Next we have Cloud placing one hand on his hip. Then we have Cloud placing both of his hands on his hips and tapping his foot on the ground. Then we have Cloud messing with his wrist. And lastly, we have Cloud reaching for the handle of the Buster Sword. Now, these are the 5 that I noticed. There could be more. There could be completely random. There could be like 10 for all we know. And lastly, I'm not sure how many people would have done this, but if you let the countdown timer go down all the way, the reactor explodes. I'm assuming Avalanche is supposed to die, you get a game over. What I found pretty interesting about it is they play the cutscene at the end of the bomb mission once the reactor explodes, but as we know, Avalanche's bomb is not strong enough to blow up the reactor, so I found that a bit strange. We know that President Shinra is the one that makes the reactor explode. Anyways, but dudes, that's the video. Just a bunch of things I noticed while playing the demo. Some of these things you might have noticed, some of them maybe not. And there could be some things that I missed myself. So be sure and let me know in the comments below if there's some small little details or things that nobody else is really noticing. Either way, it's just cool to be able to have something Final Fantasy VII Remake on my PlayStation 4 that I can just play anytime I want to now. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and want to did more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter at @dashingdavid, at my Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Give me a smile, give me forever for a while, give me forever for a while. Quit acting like a baby, or at least less like a child.